Welcome to the Dryftwood Podcast. I'm
Howdy.
Daniel the Wizard, and we got David
Howdy,
and
y'all.
our guest. Who's our guest, David?
Oh,
He's the
guest. Who are you? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? This is Ben Saffel, a good friend of mine. Well, I like to
also
think he's good.
known as YourStoryGuy on
Right.
YouTube.
Yes, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Check him out. YouTube.
Also, Spurline reviews.
Spurline
Do some
reviews.
Stuff there
Yeah,
too,
so-
but mainly your story guy.
That's your thing.
That's my thing.
Right. So earlier when we were pre-show trying to figure stuff out, so the Spurline is you're doing movie reviews.
Yes. So Spurline is run by these two other guys. One of them's my brother. That's how I know him. But they
Right.
needed someone else to do movie reviews, so I started doing movie
Right.
reviews.
Ben's
Nice.
brother, if you haven't got that thumbnail done yet, get it done.
Yes. He's supposed to be doing a thumbnail for me. He's
Well-
taking a while.
Don't make me get my manager's boots on.
They're right. All right, so Ben, I just want to say thank you for coming back.
Yeah,
I just want to let you
definitely.
guys know we actually recorded another episode, but
A couple
there
weeks
was
back.
some issue with the audio.
Yeah,
and,
hands up. Don't shoot.
almost had the same issue today.
Yeah.
Almost. But thankfully, Ben was patient enough to allow us to figure it out. So
Yeah, thanks,
technical issues now
Sure.
resolved. Everything should be much better. So something I want to bring up is last time Ben was on, he actually brought us some books.
Yes.
The guest brought us gifts.
Yeah, he brought us
like,
gifts.
completely the wrong way around. But
That's
we
a
took
lesson for you guys
Tribute.
if you're going to be a guest on the Dryftwood Podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better
I've
bring
set a
some.
new precedent.
Absolutely.
It. Nice, Ben. Appreciate that.
Well, anyway, so the books. What book? He allowed us to pick one of 4 books.
I think it was
Forwards.
4, yeah.
Yeah, one of 4
So
books.
I ended up with The Road by McCormack.
Classic. Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but good book or good movie if you haven't read the book.
Mine had something to do with faces.
Till We Have Faces.
Yeah.
By C.S. Lewis.
Yes, that was the one that I picked. I haven't gotten into it yet, and I hope to before he came back so that we can talk about it.
Yeah, that was the aim, but things get crazy.
But I
Yeah.
remember correctly, you pointed out that those were 4 of your favorite books. Like
Yes.
they were from your personal collection, your favorite books.
Yes.
And they were all of religious study. So to speak.
They were, except The Road. I wouldn't call that one a religious one. That's more just apocalyptic. But yeah, the other 3,
That's just the last part of the religion.
you could argue that's religious, yeah. But yeah, the other 3 dealt specifically with like God of Christianity.
Okay, so again, why did you bring specifically those books? I know you have a little bit of background with stuff. If you want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up Christian. I'm no longer Christian, but I grew up Southern Baptist. And so I was encouraged to read all the theologians and stuff. And I was interested in it too.
Sure.
So that's where I found C.S. Lewis, which is Till We Have Faces and Mere Christianity. Those are the 2 I brought from him.
Of course, it's got a lot more.
Yeah. And then Cormac McCarthy, The Road, I actually came into contact with in college. Read it in college, and I loved it.
Yeah, so it
Loved
was a
it.
professor that turned you on to it?
Yes.
Or-
I
yeah.
don't remember his name, but
You did a
I
good
remember.
job, Professor.
Yeah, exactly.
You will be remembered.
Shout out to SHSU.
You won't be remembered, actually. But then the third one, Gilead. I read
That
that
was-
in college too,
Yeah.
and that kind of spoke to me because my dad was a pastor and the main character's a pastor. So,
Interesting title, Gilead. What is
Gilead.
that? What does that
Yeah.
signify?
so I believe that's an actual biblical place. It sounds like it at least, but if it's not, it's the name of the town they live in,
Right,
called
right.
Gilead, and the author kind of has written several other books set in the same town. So it's like a
Right.
I
shared
do
universe.
actually think that is a biblical
I think
reference.
so. Have you read The Dark Tower?
Stephen King?
Stephen King.
I haven't.
Okay, so I've not read the books, but I've read the graphic novels, and they're pretty awesome. Dark, very, very dark. The art itself is dark. The story is dark.
I saw that horrible movie they released a couple years back.
Oh, really?
It's called The Dark Tower.
Well,
was
anyway,
bad.
one of the central cities is called Gilead,
Oh, okay.
or one of the main characters. Anyway, I'm not sure, but Gilead features in that.
So it must be a biblical place
I
then.
think so.
If it's popping up everywhere.
Yeah, I think so. I should know this probably.
Yeah.
You know, I claim to have read it.
I got rid of the
video.
because I couldn't stand it. But anyway, so we had you on. We talked about those books a little bit. We discussed a lot of things about like how we feel about certain things. A little bit, not too in depth, but one of your things with the Your Story Guy, explain what that is a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, I think you likened it to a journalist.
Yeah, on the last one, you had given out that you like to find
Yeah.
the story and share it with people.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. I think going to college has really helped me kind of understand how to appreciate stories, how to appreciate art. So since not everybody gets to go to college and have that experience, I feel like just being able to share my perspective on the story and how to get to the root of the story.
Isn't that the idea of the education supposed to be anyway?
Yeah.
Though?
And I actually worked in education for a year,
Yeah.
considering whether I'm going to stay in it. But yeah, that's the ideal education.
What got you into pursuing education to begin with?
I needed to pay bills.
So
That's simply it.
You knew it was a job that was always in demand.
Exactly. And again, like, yeah, it'll pay my bills and everything, but everybody still hopes, hey, maybe I can do some good while I'm doing it, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so has that changed your approach after you said you spent a year teaching, correct? So did that change your approach with how you talk to people, interacting with what grade? What grade did you
High school.
High
So,
school.
like, the middle to upper high school.
Okay,
So, like,
10th, 11th,
sophomores
12th?
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But, and then I had some 8th graders too, so middle school. But yeah, it showed me not to make assumptions, because I used to, especially in Texas and growing up Christian, I used to say, remember in the Bible when Adam and Eve? No, not everybody remembers that.
Yeah, not
So-
that's not. It's not. I didn't realize it wasn't commonly discussed because it was commonly discussed around where I was from.
Exactly,
Right? It was
yeah.
just the religion was just there, you know. So God and Adam and Eve and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
it was
that-
less Christian mythology and almost like American mythology
Yeah.
to a point in our minds, at least.
Well, yeah, I mean, we kind of flood ourselves with it, and then everything seems to be like holiday wise and things like that, pagan of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, so sorry, I had to drop that out there.
That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so now the reason why I asked that is because one point in time in my life, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a history teacher.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think you did language arts. Is
English-
that correct?
English language arts, yeah.
So as a teacher, did you have to follow a specific curriculum to the ISD that you worked with?
Yes, but not just to the ISD, to the whole state. So this goes out to every
Yeah,
state.
it goes to the what is
Not
it?
every state.
Well, every
Everywhere in
county,
the state.
everybody. So in Texas, you have to take the what is it called now? The tax or toss or tax or whatever it's called now.
I don't.
They got rid of star, right?
Yeah, the guy.
Well, it used to when I was in school is Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills.
Yeah, TEX or TEEX is what they call it now. Yeah.
Before it was tax Assessment of Knowledge and
Tax.
Skills. Yeah, I don't know what it is now.
So what it is basically now, it's not like it's, if I'm remembering it correctly, it's not its own test. It's now, it's like a TEEK means like a student has to, it's like a criteria
Okay.
now. So like you have to constantly be teaching these criteria
Well, yeah,
as you're
based
going.
upon the points the state thinks that you need to teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
So
the-
it's
the-
less a test and more we've made it just kind of like everything.
Right. So there's actually not really a whole lot of individual freedom with teaching when it comes to
No,
that.
not at all, man. I like to an extent. I think a lot of my issues with my superiors was me trying to be creative.
Do you think that
Don't be
that is?
creative.
Do you think that's why you ended up pushing towards YouTube a little bit?
Oh yeah,
Express some of the creativity that you felt was this year locked up.
yeah, and just like the education system takes the joy out of reading, out of storytelling, and so
I'll be honest
it's
with you, I hated reading in school.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
was going to make a joke when y'all were discussing star and teeks and text, and it was called tax at one point.
Tax test.
Do you think they changed that so kids like taxes more?
yeah.
They don't get to dislike taxes so young. You can dislike reading, but don't dislike taxes.
Yeah, taxes are
surprise me.
important. Taxes are important. Yeah, so no, I don't know. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because I do know that that has a lot to do in some way with what you do with the story and stuff like that. Because my son, who's turning 12 soon, is a big fan of it. So part of it
great
makes
to
me
hear.
feel like some of you dealing with people around that age, maybe a little bit older, has allowed you
Oh,
to.
I see.
I don't know. Maybe you see something missing there, and you think that they need to get more stories. It's fine. The screen just went black.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think
I'm not
about
trying
that.
to figure out your life for you, but that's what I do.
But
so,
like subconsciously, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. And plus, in the past couple of years, I've been flooded with nieces and nephews too.
Yeah,
so
but-
like, Like the
Test
Crash
subjects.
Yeah, the Crash Bandicoot video was specifically made for younger kids.
Dude, I love
yeah.
that. That was a nostalgia thing all the way for me. I love that.
Yeah, it was fun for the kids, but I thought like people who grew up with me would just be like, "Hey, I remember Crash."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was a fun game. Definitely a time killer. Definitely a time killer. And also broke some controllers over that game. I'm sure. I'm sure of it. Those Nintendo 64 controllers and stuff like that, we used to smash those things. They had the rumble pack.
I was getting mad playing it just on the Xbox. So
this is frustrating. All I have to do is press a button, but it doesn't happen when I want it to happen. So
It's all about timing.
yeah, well, if you play enough levels enough, you can play it with your eyes closed. You get used to the thing. So
Just
like
button
with,
at the right time.
well, like with I used to play Guitar Hero on PS2.
yeah.
So when I'd play Guitar Hero, I got to the point where I could play Expert without the music.
Oh wow.
I could put it on mute and just have it memorized.
I think they later put in a mode where you can literally like just freestyle the whole time for Guitar Hero.
That would be. Listen. I haven't really messed with it since PS2, maybe PS3,
Yeah.
but that's it. That was it. I haven't delved into that. The Rock Band, all that stuff, never got into it.
I still have Rock Band, but
I
Guitar
want to.
Hero's
I
gone.
wanted to do the Rock Band only because of the drums. That's the only reason. Because I could play drums, but like I never did it because that shit was real expensive.
Yeah, it was
Like real life expensive, and then even aftermarket, you're looking at $200 for the set. So it wasn't worth it to me. So. Anyway, so one of the thing with you being the Your Story Guy or whatever, I think that what makes me think of is just like everyone in their own personal stories. You know, so when you look at these videos and stuff that you do on YouTube, when you play the games and you break down the storyline and stuff like that, some of that is, I think, is self-reflection of how you've perceived it also with just because the lens that you viewed the world through. And then also having a religious background, you can see it in everything.
Oh yeah,
Everything.
Religious imagery everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, once you become aware of it, you see it everywhere.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because I grew up in East Texas, and there was a lot of backwoods thinking, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So my view on the world when I first moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area was very, very close-minded. Very, very, very close-minded. And I ran into a bunch of people that I disagreed with almost immediately. I realized that wasn't going to work. I didn't have to defend myself the same way where I grew up, because where I grew up, in my opinion, I wasn't really, one of the popular kids or anything like that. I didn't really fit into certain cliques or whatever. I was a friend of all, but there were some things that came because of my reputation that, I had to outrun, so to speak. So to be able to outgrow that reputation, I had to move somewhere else where I wasn't a teenager.
Yeah.
And then grow up that way, had kids, stuff like that. So the reason why we're all back together is because the messed up recording, and we were trying to get together into a Discord so that we could at least get a recording out. But things worked out. So it made me think about our stories. You said you were back up here because this is your stomping ground.
Yes. Grew up here a little bit.
You had told me you were out of town. I'm like, oh, cool, we'll get back together on Monday. And then I went on Facebook. I was like, Dallas, Texas. Oh, yeah, no, out of town. That makes sense. You don't live here. Okay, cool, got it. Right. So, fortunately, we were able to get here. But it makes me think about like all the times in our lives to where we may have forcefully done something, when maybe taking the back seat a little bit, just letting things go, accepting that it is what it is. Now let's just make the most of it.
Don't force it. Yeah.
And every opportunity that presented itself, there was communication. There was an ability to make it happen. So. Patience,
Nice.
Patience with all of this, because David see me. I kick myself in the ass for the audio stuff. I kick myself in the ass. But the fact of the matter is I do think that patience is something that a lot of people could spend a lot more time learning. Which I'm sure you spend a lot of time learning, teaching.
Oh yeah,
teenagers.
Oh yeah. Just going to college, man. That's a lot of patience. But that's interesting because I talked a lot on the last attempt about how I kind of see the world in stories, basically. That's kind of what I do. I look back over things that have happened recently, and you kind of assign characters and plots to it,
absolutely.
And that helps you find like the moral,
right?
And that's what you did by looking at it.
Well, and then so whenever you go back and you're looking at some of those things, like I often evaluate the good and the bad. Like if something good happened, like not to be greedy, but what more could have come of that? Like did I maximize the opportunity to do things like that? Yeah. So another thing with patience is not being too patient. had I not reached out to you when I saw you were in Dallas,
Yeah, nothing would have happened.
nothing would have happened. So we would have just waited. So I was patient, but I wasn't looking for anything. But when it came, I took the opportunity. Right? You did as well. You're like, oh, we're here. David's things happened for David. It almost was just you and me and David remote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I wasn't supposed to be here today or yesterday.
Yeah, so
things just turned out that way.
Crazy.
I don't know, just patience, and I don't know. I think it's really cool, and then also with all of us having some background in religion, so to speak, it's really hard not to lean back on that. Like maybe there's a reason why all this stuff happens. But I think a lot of it is too is if you're comfortable within where you are and who you are, being patient, so on and so forth, and being a parent has taught me patience more than anything.
I bet, dude.
I mean, you saw my kids here. I got 5 of them. They run around. They're loud. They're obnoxious. Got a 6th one on the way. So. But anyways, so give a little bit about your background and how you came to going to college and studying to do literature.
So,
You can give a snippet or you can go into as much detail, and
Sure.
David will probably ask some questions, I'm sure.
I've got questions, always.
So yeah, I grew up in the, I guess, Houston metropolitan area, but largely in a little country town called Richards, Texas, and lived there till like 5th grade. And I had always loved reading. Just that was my thing. I hardly went outside.
Were
I
you like
stayed
an
inside.
introvert a little bit? You just kind of kept to yourself?
Oh, yeah.
And books were
And-
your escape?
And that's also just my ASD coming into play. It just kind of drove you away from people. And
Just for those who don't know, ASD?
yeah, ASD is autism spectrum disorder, used to be known as Asperger's syndrome. So I'm on the high functioning side. So
Smart.
basically, it just makes me a little weird sometimes,
Oh,
and
weird.
just a little odd. And from what I can understand, or from what other people have said, it makes you see the world in perhaps a slightly different hue of light than other people. So that may have fed my ability to kind of grasp literature a little
So
bit.
Through a different lens, maybe?
Yeah.
Well,
different ones.
socially, you made it apparent that you were like you kind of kept to yourself. How did that change going into high school and then into college? Because that
man.
had to be a crash,
Oh, yeah.
man.
So it mostly changed in middle school. Or actually, no. It changed in 6th grade.
And you can keep going. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
grab a drink. real
Sure.
quick.
So it changed in 6th grade when I actually moved here to Dallas. It's kind of the shock of moving somewhere else for the first time was terrifying. And so I just knew I would either shut up in a shell and never make any friends, or, I would just have to survival, man. I just have to be social and get to know people. And that's
That's what you did?
what I did.
Right,
And
nice.
so I never looked back since. But
cool beans.
as I've gotten older, I've kind of mellowed out and become more introvert again. I've just kind of become more at peace with myself being quiet. you know?
Right. That being okay for you.
Yeah, so
Right.
just being an introvert kind of led me to reading. And so that
sure.
love just kind of stuck with me. And then once I got to college, I learned how to appreciate it more. And so, yeah.
Okay, so when you went to college, let me just put that in my own mind into perspective. When we met, were you at college then, or
That was 2012, I think. So that was the year the world was supposed to end.
Yes, we were waiting for it. I still went to work, but
A little side story. I was delivering pizzas before I came to the bookstore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and one of the guys who worked there was like asking me the weekend before the world was supposed to end. He was asking me like, "Dude, you're a pastor's son. Is the world supposed to end?" Like
Like you had an insight.
like I was supposed to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
I'm not supposed to tell you this, but
and I was just like, I don't know, man.
no.
I'm just trying to make money here. But at
Just
a
do
real
pizza.
bookstore, I think, because I had graduated in 2011. So yeah, I had just started college.
Okay.
So
nice.
I wasn't quite there yet. I wasn't
Okay.
quite at the enlightened state. I would
Well,
get.
that is why I was asking you for the time, this kind of time frame, because when we first met at the bookstore, working there and everything, my experience of you was that you were a smart guy for sure, and
Yes.
yeah, no, definitely, and you were.
You told me that too. It don't mean much.
I tell
Check that box.
I tell everybody that. Sorry, guys.
Well, I guess if you interact with them, they must be smart because they can understand you.
Smart as me.
Listen, if that's your gauging stick.
This smart.
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, so you struck me as someone who was smart, socially conscious, but you had something you were trying to figure out. And through the conversations we had, I figured out some of what you were trying to figure out. And I think, I hope you don't mind me sharing a little bit of...
Interesting. Okay.
Right?
This is going to be interesting.
So at the time, because I think we did talk about this before, but you were having difficulty with, at that time, not ASD, at that time still defined as Asperger's, and the religious side of your upbringing. Is that enough of a starter for you to see what I'm saying? What I'm talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I started... So my journey out of Christianity, I like to say I grew out of it because I feel like I just didn't need it anymore, right? So I just kind of left.
I think that kind of happened for me too.
Really?
Well, I mean, in the last recording that you might not ever hear, that we keep talking about, at the end of it, I made a statement about how, like, it's not whether I believe or not. It's just I'm choosing to do the things that I'm doing because of the I don't agree with the purpose of doing that.
Yeah.
So that was more or less.
So just practical. More practical.
Yeah, I mean, and so that was, I just kind of felt like I didn't need it anymore. I still use it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I still use it. It's very valuable. I have kids. It's important for me to teach them those things because I do think that there's moral structure there. And it's easy to refer to a kid's Christian book and just like, hey, go read that, teach them the lesson.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I wouldn't be able to meditate properly if I hadn't have had that
that was one
that
thing for
introspection me. That Christianity
part
taught
of
me.
part of my grasping and coming to terms with that was starting to meditate and not speaking to someone and just being there.
Just being present.
Being present, man. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do, and if you don't practice it, man, it's you have to practice.
Yeah, and but ultimately, what led me away from Christianity was it was this build up, but finally it built up to a question. And I remember, distinctly where I was. I was in Frisco, no, Plano. Plano is where I was living at the time. I was with two other roommates, and we were out on the deck just kind of chilling after a long day's work. And I finally just kind of wondered to myself, just if God was all powerful and all good, he would fix the world. But he hasn't done it.
Yeah, I think the suffering and things like that is in a lot of stories in the Bible are martyrs, so
yeah, it kind of goes back to, like, I don't expect Christianity to kind of give up that aspect of its existence because it's their origin story, being persecuted,
and also
being under
maybe religion-wise, God is doing it. Maybe he is changing it, but it takes the people to do it because he can wave his magic wand and do it.
Good.
So if God is saying, hey, guys, just practice and follow what I do, the problem I have is if you don't, you're going to hell. That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I'm going to live a good, perfect life all the way through, and just because I don't talk to you at night, and
you get a timeout forever.
Bye-bye.
To me,
away.
That's where the problem is. I'm not scared of going to hell. I just think, listen, if those are my choices, I'll take whatever happens based on
Mark Twain will be there.
Yeah, he will.
Hey, at least you have interesting company, right? Like you said.
Yeah, well, listen.
His white suit will definitely get dirty, though.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it just glistens and glows, and it's just this aura that comes around him.
You just stand really close
because
to him.
You got to remember, Lucifer came from heaven. Morning star.
Yeah.
The most beautiful angel. At least in tradition.
Well, yeah. So, Ben, that's really interesting for me. Going back to, you said the Christianity gave you the mindset for the introspection, the meditation, the self-reflection, and that then helped you deal with the ASD.
Definitely.
So, now, I'm glad you said that, because my perception of the conversations we had at the time was that the Christianity was actually causing you some difficulties in, maybe not with yourself, your ASD in yourself.
Ideas and teachings were clashing. I think that may have been it.
And that everybody's going to go through that, no matter what tradition you're in.
Well, some people, that strengthens their faith because they find the answers that they ask the questions for. And sometimes that's the problem. We ask the wrong question.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people do lose faith in their thing because they're asking the wrong question. But I think a lot about the questions people should ask if you do use religion should be self-reflective. What can I do? What more can I do? What can,
Yeah, you were saying several times in the past few days about it's not the why so much. We sometimes we get lost on the why and we forget about the what.
Yeah, sometimes if why is not working, if we can't figure out let's maybe just put that to the side for a minute. Let's get to the what first. Let's get...
Well, that's, from a Christian, like, obviously I do come from a strong Christian background, so I know the difference between saying, "Why, Lord? Why?" as opposed to, "What do you want me to do, Lord? What do I have to do to make this right?"
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset.
Absolutely. And when you hold yourself accountable for your actions and not blame things around you, religion's more effective also.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Because I think the biggest thing about religion that I don't think they say blatantly, but it's self-preservation and it's just self-growth, self-awareness, just knowing who you are based upon one person's teachings and being able to put that out into the world. I think that's the idea, is to put more good into the world so that more people are good.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's when I have issues with like the Crusades and things like that, and the way that they chose to
like forcibly making people.
We're gonna make you good.
Well, the show that I like to watch, what is it? The Last Kingdom. I don't know if you've watched it. It's on Netflix. If you haven't, it's really
set in
good.
Jerusalem or something?
No, it's set during the Wessex and
the Anglo-Saxon Norman times.
and trying to the Danish coming over and trying to conquer, and then the
and
Christianity trying to
Gotcha.
so the Danes were very self-serving.
Okay.
Whereas in those things, the Christian faith was, we have to get rid of these animals because they're animals, because they're self-serving, they don't serve the Lord or whatever, and they're putting evil into the world.
When you say animals, they're referring to the Normans or the Danes?
The Danes, yes.
Danes,
They were basically, I think,
barbarians.
so some of the things at the show, I don't know how historically accurate some of those things are, but just the speak between the parties and the tribes. But one thing that you have to remember, in war times, all of these things, all these people, if war was going too bad, both sides decided, all right, cool, we need to figure something else out because we just got a bunch of people dying.
Yeah, we don't have enough people left.
Okay, so that brings me to current times with some of the society things with using violence to trying to put a message across. If that's the goal,
to send message of violence?
To get the message across, just because it's been an effective way doesn't mean that's the only way or the most effective way. And so when people give me the argument about, well, violence, sometimes that's the only way. Maybe it is. But have you explored other ways, seriously explored other ways? Yeah. And it starts with doing it within yourself. And I've been preaching recently to people, not preaching like a sermon, but try and get local. Try and do more local things. If you don't like things the way you are and where, even if it's just a street you're on.
You want to do something, get to know your neighbors. All right, there's a start. Get to know who your people are around you. Build a community. Start up from there.
It's hard to build a community when you spend all time inside on Netflix. And on
tweeting.
Yeah,
get off your freaking tweeter.
Making podcasts and videos and stuff. It's difficult to get out there and meet the neighbors. But the thing is, I think if more people spent a little bit more time doing that and not virtue signaling or saying, "Oh, I went and did something good."
Yeah.
Right. To me, if you're recording it to get likes, that's not good. That's self-serving.
Yeah. It
right.
is.
I want to say something about the violence. Using violence as a method to get the message across. Now, I won't. Obviously, I can't say for certain, but a lot of the people I've met who advocate for violence, I would say they don't know violence. I tell you what, when you know violence, when you've been a part of it, when you've been in it, when you've done it and had it done to you,
I think you have to be on both sides of it. I think you really have had to experience both sides of it to really get a grasp of it. And a lot of violence that I've pushed on to people has in part been because of the violence that I incurred. Right. So it was basically, I think what it was maybe is a filter. It went through me and I put it out, but as it filtered through me, I recognized, some of the things. And every time I do something, if I recognize, that probably wasn't right, I try and recount how it led me to it. I'm probably different than a lot of people, but I don't know. A lot of people don't talk about this stuff.
Well, we were talking outside, pre-recording, about inner voices and mind's eye.
I've told you several times. How
I was blown away that there's people who don't have.
And I feel like
mind's eye.
I don't know. I don't know. It's baffling to me because I can't fathom not being able to have an inner dialogue.
That's what I was telling Ben. Is like, how do you do anything if you can't picture it in your mind? It's like,
I'm curious to anybody out there listening or watching or whatever. Yeah. Do you have an inner dialogue? If you don't, I'm really interested to find out what goes on up there. Maybe you're just in a meditation state. Maybe that's a peaceful place to be.
Yeah. Maybe that is what the Buddhist ideal of like
nirvana.
You don't
But think about it this way: is it better to know evil and not do evil than to know evil or to know evil and not do it, or to not know evil and not do it? You know what I'm saying? I think it's that point. I think there's a certain amount of life you have to experience, whether it be firsthand or just you have to take things in. So I think somebody that's 20 years old that's in that state, I don't think that they've had enough life experience to be fully
to put things into perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm curious if anybody's listening or again watching. Just email us, let us know, because I'm really curious. Because I don't know that I know anybody. I may, but it's not really something that's been talked about. Because I just assumed everybody did.
I mean, I've met people who don't think about social issues and stuff like that.
They're
but
selective on the things.
Yeah,
they
they're
think
selective. I've never met someone who just doesn't.
They can just turn it off.
Yeah, who can just not.
Not thinking right now. Come back later.
The only time that my stuff turns off.
Meditation, at least for me.
Well, and I was going to say probably meditation. And the reason being is because I'm focusing on the breath in, the breath out, the sound, the feel, all of it. That's all I'm thinking about. But before I get into tune, it's like, am I breathing right? Am I breathing wrong? Is it in? Is it out? Is it in? Is it out? And you get some sort of rhythmic pattern. Your heartbeat slows down, and everything just. You feel like you're sinking into whatever it is, and you just exist. Yeah,
to a point where you don't even feel like you have a body. Really, you're
that's
just kind
the goal.
of there.
Is to try and think yourself out of your body.
Yeah,
and dude, it's been fun doing it. And I've been trying to do a little bit more yoga and stuff like that. So things like that really make you focus on something that's going on. It helps you turn this off.
And I think honestly, everyone should at least try meditation because. It would make for a healthier society in general because people would just be more at peace.
So I got an idea. What about these? You know how California does these rolling blackouts or brownouts or whatever they call them, where they think so. They kill the grid, or I don't know.
If they racist,
right? I don't where they kill the grid, right?
Sorry,
to conserve energy, right?
Yeah.
So what about if us as a nation decided to periodically shut off the internet?
Dude, it would be. I don't know. Would it be
just
chaos?
for an hour? Just for an hour.
Just for an hour?
Just for an hour. Not a whole day, because
people
will
news.
die. Okay, people will die.
So my phone broke.
People wouldn't be
able to read the news.
Dude, my phone broke, and I didn't have my phone for 2 days. I was having to fight myself getting antsy.
Oh yeah.
You know, I could feel myself getting antsy, and I was like, no, don't do it, man. It's not...
Well, you know what? My phone, I lose it a lot now. I'm going to be completely honest with you because I don't care about it. Mm-hmm. If I have it, I'll look at it or whatever, or I'll look something up. Oh, it's convenient. Even now that I have my smartwatch, I'll just see, oh, there's a text. I don't really care. Right? It's just there to remind me I should probably go check in a little bit. But you saw me, my phone was sitting over there. I went outside, I was running around doing, unless I'm watching a video or something like that, I typically don't have my phone on me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have to make it like you may have to make a point to a conscious effort to whenever there's like another human being in the room, I don't bring my phone out at all.
Something that I like pointing out is when I go to restaurants, I'm usually the only one not on my phone, period.
I know.
Including wait staff.
It's depressing.
Including wait staff. So recently went to a restaurant.
You'd be fired.
You would.
Recently went to a restaurant and I noticed everybody there was on their phones and things like that. And I'm just looking around. This place was really cool.
Right.
Like, and the things that I'm thinking about is we were sitting on what used to be an outside patio. So there used to be an outside patio, but me being, having background in building and stuff like that, I'm looking at, okay, what processes, because this clearly used to be the outside of the building, now we're uncovered, and the duct work. I'm looking at all of that stuff, right? That's the first thing I'm looking at. But after I've figured out all that stuff, I'm looking at the decorations. So we were in a sushi place. Okay, sushi. Now, the one thing I would not expect to see on the wall of a sushi place is anything about hot rods or motorcycles.
Okay.
So
was it a sushi grill place?
I don't know. I don't remember. But this whole wall had like Harley Davidson stuff and truck stuff and all this stuff, and it was just this wall. But everything else was just like tigers and just of the culture of whatever it is that.
Weird.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things. How many people don't take stuff like that in? I'm here to talk about that because it struck me because I literally spent an hour and a half just taking everything there in.
Dude, also, situational awareness these days is...
Also, when I first got there, I looked for all the escapes,
fire exits,
where I'm going to sit at. And
I feel like that has to be a conscious effort, too, to kind of make yourself look around.
Well, I would say after a while, it becomes a routine. You walk in, and your eyes go, fire extinguisher, fire exit, bathrooms, register, emergency, back at.
Well, I would like to thank a lot of my jobs for doing that, because I worked security for a while.
Oh wow, yeah,
right?
that's
So
true.
it trains you to be in the mindset to look for stuff. If you take to the training.
Not everybody does.
I always found it very interesting because I was a people watcher anyways. But now, and I've always been like a detective minded person, I've always wanted to solve problems, right? So security gave me the avenue to pretend like I was solving problems, right?
Well,
but what it did is it allowed me to be investigative, but with no ramifications. Like I didn't have to talk to people and stuff like that. So it allowed me to tap my toe in some of those things that I was really interested in. And I chose to do that before pursuing actually being a police officer. I'm not a police officer, and I chose not to be a police officer. Here's why. The police officers that I directly dealt with, there was one specific officer. I'm not going to give you the department to where he worked, but his name was White. Okay? Very generic last
Very
name.
fitting.
But
he was very white.
he was an FTO. And in my interactions with this officer, he was very burly to me, very mean, very rude, very you're in my way, very in my way.
Okay.
And I'm standing 25 foot away, as I'm supposed to, as I'm trained. Close enough to hear what's going on, but not really being
in the scene.
Right?
Okay.
And then I'm security for a private property, and anything that happens on the property, I have to report it. So there are questions that I have to ask. But anytime I went up to this police officer, and anyone that he was training, mind you, and a lot of the officers that I dealt with after, because he directly trained them.
This is when you were a security guard. You dealt with the officers.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and so that actually made me choose to not be a police officer, because I don't want to try and overcome that. If I get to a department, I don't have the patience to try and deal with somebody that's been at it for 15, 20 years and has their mindset. It just wasn't for me. And then also the domestic things, I don't think I could have dealt with that, honestly. But again, so because of dealing directly with police officers and my history with police officers, I just decided that it wasn't for me. I didn't have the mindset psychologically. I could not deal with it. And I don't think people evaluate that.
Yeah.
How many police officers do you know? You probably know a couple, yeah?
No, a few. Yeah.
A couple. I'd say a couple.
Even through your time in school, I guarantee you somebody went to school with a police officer.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Right. So think about that, and think about all of these people that are police officers, and maybe they're not bad cops. Maybe they have bad training.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
And I know the speak is of, better training or whatever, but you can't throw money at it. You have to have directed training. So
right. So if you can't throw money at it, what about the whole defund the police thing?
But this doesn't go to just police. This is you have to have a directed approach. You have to have intention. Like if you're saying, oh, we're just giving these training classes so that we can, all right. So for example, on places that I've had to work, I've had to take cultural acceptance tests to be culturally approving of other people that were different than
security.
me. Yes. That's not the only place I had to do it.
Did y'all have to do like an implicit bias? That's the
no.
word
That wasn't a thing then.
It was more focused on be aware of how you interact and how you think of people.
But understand, I knew that I had implicit bias after first coming to the DFW area and realizing I had no fucking clue how the world worked. I had no clue. Listen, I grew up in a place that I think the largest town next to us had maybe 80,000 people. That was the largest.
The thing with bias, it directly hides the real world from you. Because you suddenly you're looking at everything through a lens.
You don't allow yourself to take in the things. You're not allowing those things to come in because you've already shut off, because you already have a predetermined idea on how this is going to be. But if you recognize you have some of those things, like me, I'm not going to look sideways at a black dude walking down the street. I might look sideways at a dude walking down the street that has tattoos on his face. It doesn't matter that he's black or white to me. It's the fact that the dude has tattoos on his face. I want to be sure that like those tattoos are there because he wanted them there, not because of some gang initiation or stuff like that. Because I worked at a prison also. So tattoos to me are signifiers.
Oh, that's not a 12 on your face?
I think I probably have an implicit bias towards Christians, probably.
Towards or against?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it good or bad? Do you think that do you think it gives you a negative view on them, or do you think it allows you to better understand? Or
it's probably negative. It's probably negative, just because
the pushback that you got as a kid, maybe
the pushback I got, and just even from an early age, like I'm talking like middle school, I had problems with what my parents would tell me was right and wrong.
Right.
Like even back then, I thought it was silly that God would discriminate against a gay couple. Like,
Yeah.
it's love. Why would he hate that?
God hates love.
I mean,
Well, it goes against being able to populate.
yeah, exactly. And so it just those little things I disagreed with him on just over the years. And then it does, my Christian journey is a political one.
Right.
When Donald Trump got elected, I left Christianity for good.
Oh,
I was done.
because he was endorsed by...
He was endorsed by the largely evangelical community, and that was the most visible Christian community.
Well, listen, the evangelical community, even when I was a practicing Christian, I had a problem with
They're
that.
batshit.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that loud.
Yeah, no, I had and it's not all evangelicals, but there are some.
Hashtag not all.
I
Put
guess
it in video description.
I guess I kind of disagree with the idea of evangelicism, because I don't believe it's right to force your beliefs on someone else, and that was the go-to. You had to convert people when you were Christian.
Let me offer you this as Donald Trump.
Oh God, please don't.
As Donald Trump.
As Donald
You're gonna have
Trump.
to do your hair, man.
Sorry.
You're fired.
What about Donald Trump? He doesn't push the religious aspect, though.
He doesn't.
I don't think he's a practicing Christian. I think he did that because he needed to be a Republican.
Well, yeah, but in 2016, he did do that a lot. And
again,
it
became political. He chose Christianity because that was a pretty good way.
And that's one of the reasons I left, is because he was taking my religion and just shitting all over.
That just, to me, in my opinion, shows you the issue with religion. Is because somebody like Donald Trump can claim to practice and believe the same thing that I do, but be so far from the different. Right. So, and then also think about a Christian church in California and a Christian church in the South. They're different churches.
Oh, yeah.
They're different churches. So your correspondence with God is directly the person who's given it to you.
It's personal.
To break
Very
it down.
personal.
Like, so if you're going to a preacher and you're listening to him because of the sermon that he gives you joy, he helps you understand the Bible a little bit better, whatever, right? But if you're telling me that somebody like Donald Trump, who I think is a flawed character human being, I have issues with his character. Now, he has done things, in my opinion, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, that I agree with as far as politics go. Right? I still think he's a character, and I still think that there is entertainment value there, and I still think the reason why he is popular is because he is a character. And I also think that he's smarter than a lot of people give him credit for, because he didn't accidentally get to where he's at. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
you think about it. He used Christianity to get votes. He's smart. He's smart. Listen, as much as it may piss us off, just because he played the game better than we did, though.
I don't know if that's
Maybe
fair,
not us,
though, because I don't necessarily think an evil person is smart for doing something evil.
Well, what about to accomplish the evil things?
I think.
All right, let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
I don't want you to get too deep in on this, but do you think Donald Trump is evil?
Yes.
Why?
Because he is destructive to the human race. So therefore I place on him
Okay.
evil.
So in what way, from your perspective, is he destructive? I'm not disagreeing with you.
Sure.
I'm just asking because you've spent some time dealing with this.
He's malicious towards people who are different than him.
That's fair. I can agree with you there.
I honestly, I do think all this happened by accident, not because he's dumb, even though I think he's dumb. I think a lot of people who voted for him are dumb.
Why is that?
Because they bought his message. They bought the con artist act.
But maybe they didn't. Maybe they just wanted the things that he was promising. So
Well, then they're morally flawed to me. Because they voted for an evil man because they got something out of it. That makes you morally flawed.
Let me offer you this as a perspective. Somebody like me is choosing between the lesser of two evils. Because I feel like...
You voted for Hillary?
No, I'm just saying I didn't vote for either one of them. But
Me neither.
The idea of having to choose, I think both of them are evil. I really do.
And I'm not voting for any evil.
For different reasons. And like I said in the previous podcast, if I'm not on board with the important things, I'm not fully supporting it. Like all of them. And I'm not going to put my support behind somebody because they support one thing that I like. I think decriminalization and prohibition should be ended of drugs and things like that.
Okay. I was like, prohibition ended a while back.
Well, prohibition, I think prohibition of anything, honestly, like that, because first off,
prohibiting the use
of like any drugs?
Yes. And here's why. I can give you the reason why is because you can so if somebody's acting a fool in public or whatever on the drugs or whatever, that's a different thing. You're now harming the public and things like that. But somebody that does things recreationally or in their own home or away from everybody else with a group of like-minded people,
fair.
why is that illegal?
That's fair.
They're not affecting anybody. Think about if I were to go start a commune and we just wanted to smoke pot all the time. Not saying that that's what we would do, but let's say we did. It's illegal.
You couldn't. You'd have to do other things. Someone would have to go to town.
He's already going through the logistics.
Somebody would have to go to town to get munchies, so you're going to need transportation. So, no. Anyway.
Vegetables, man. Get the munchies for some healthy stuff.
Get the cat, yeah.
Well, and listen, and also I think munchies are less relevant when you have things that are less addictive as far as foods.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so like Cheetos and stuff like that, man, that stuff is designed and engineered for you to fall in love with
munch
it.
On. Yeah.
So you either love it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like with some of those things, like people like with Doritos and things like that.
Yes, I was about to
You
mention
either
that.
love them or you just, they're not my thing. Right, so I go through phases where I love salsa verde. Salsa
nice.
verde, those are my favorite ones. They're hard to find unless you're in Texas. They're pretty common in Texas, but I lived in Pennsylvania for a little bit. They were difficult to find. And then also something really weird about Pennsylvania with chips. They don't have just regular sour cream and onion Ruffles up there.
Oh, really?
They just don't have them?
They just nowhere. They have the Utz brand and the other brands, but they don't have.
So you think it's like a regional thing? They just.
I think it's definitely a regional thing
just
because
don't eat it?
Frito-Lay is Plano.
Oh, I see.
So if you're trying to source things up there, you're only going to send the things that are the most popular.
Gotcha.
Right, so you're going to send more of the blue and red bags than you are of the green bags.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
if the green bags are going to take up space of the red and blue bags, you're losing money.
Wow, so we get everything down here from them.
From because they are in Plano. Frito-Lay's in Plano.
Best country in the world.
Texas.
Right.
Trump 2020.
No, so with Trump, so my thing is like, if you're choosing between a lesser of two evils and somebody that's on that fence like that, like I was, if I'm going to choose a lesser of two evils, I'm going to choose somebody that's going to shake things up because I think both things are evil. And my support for Trump initially was because he wasn't part of what existed. And I think that is good in a lot of ways. It's very damaging to people, but I don't think Trump is necessary for what follows. That's what I think. So I was talking with Rory Bowman on my town hall or whatever, or one of the personal posts, and I'd made a post about I'm voting third party or whatever. I may vote third party because the two options that are available are ridiculous to me: Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So
I can't. I'm sorry. There's a lot of things about Joe Biden character-wise.
I'm not excited about.
Same thing about Trump character-wise. Just same thing. It's character.
All right. You said there's some things about Biden that you're not. What if Biden was a Republican?
What if he was a? He
Yeah.
kind of is a Republican.
Okay.
He's a conservative Democrat.
Okay.
He's Democrat in name only, basically.
Okay.
So, in what ways would he be conservative, based on what you know of the guy so far?
He likes children.
Well, he doesn't want to. I know he doesn't want to legalize pot. For one thing, he wants to do baby steps, which is 10 years too late.
Well, that goes to my thing on the prohibition. Why is that in place to begin with?
So what are the baby steps? Because I haven't heard this.
Decriminalization,
work on less sentencing for drug, and then
here's the thing.
30 years later we get to smoke pot.
So
First
with those,
off,
we still get some money out of the suckers who get picked
Exactly. It's all about money.
Yeah, well, of course, because they lose money if it becomes legal. They lose a bunch of money. And so what I have a problem with the Republican Party mostly is that it mostly favors large business.
Yeah.
Okay, whereas I think the Democratic Party tried to favor small business but failed.
Yeah.
But I think, maybe we both listened to this. Recently, the Democratic Party has kind of become Republican as far as who they are.
Again, that's the goal. That's what I'm talking about. They tried to focus on small business, whereas it seems like the Republicans focused more on the large business, right? So first off, none of this is going to work as long as the Federal Reserve is still printing their own money and lending it to us. Sorry. None of this stuff really genuinely matters because our economy is on their back. It's a private business and our economy strictly goes or falls on them.
Yep.
So as a will of good faith, they decided to lend money to the government at no interest rate. Nice. How nice of them. How nice of them to make pretend money and give it to us.
For free.
For free.
Give us free pretend money.
For now, it's for a length of time. If you pay it back within a length of time, there's no
So you got to pay the imaginary money back before the imaginary time runs out?
How the fuck they gonna make money, dude? You got to give them their imaginary money back.
We're literally just playing Monopoly.
They're drug dealers. They give you a little taste and get you hooked. The first one's free. And then next one, whoa, buddy, that's getting cost you. First one's free.
Well, as far as politics go, with the Democratic and the Republican Party, the polarization and the partisanship within, or even within, honestly, because I would consider myself center-right, probably.
Yeah.
I'm actually probably more center-left with feelings, but center-right with real-world things, right? Because, first off, I don't think the government should be as involved as they are in everything that's going on, right? And one of the things that I am happy about that Trump did is he didn't do anything with the Chaz Chop thing. He's left it to the state, which is what I think the government should. Chaz Chop, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. All right.
Yeah.
Have you not heard about this?
I guess not.
Summer of Love. Have you heard about the Summer of Love in Seattle?
Probably.
Okay, well, that's what it is.
Okay.
But anyways,
basically, let me just recap for
Yeah,
viewers.
go ahead.
The BLM and Antifa and various socialist groups have taken over a part of Seattle.
I know. Okay.
And declared it their own.
well, here's what I can commend Trump on. First off, the governor of what state is it? I don't remember. Sorry.
Washington?
Is it Washington?
Seattle? Washington.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it is Washington. I'm sorry, but I've paid attention to the wrong details. But the idea that Trump didn't immediately send the National Guard and the stuff like that to take control,
Could have done.
I respect the fact that he's leaving it to the state. Regardless of what the outcome is, I'm really curious, but the fact that he's leaving it up to the state, number one, it shows the governor's incompetence, the mayor's incompetence. Because whether I agree or not with what they're trying to do, the method is, in my opinion, flawed from the start. So you're going to take over stuff like within, and you're going to basically create this idea that you have this free autonomous place or whatever, but you're not going to allow people in if they have cameras. You're not going to allow recording or anything like that. There's no freedom unless you agree with them, right? If you were to wear a MAGA hat in there, you'd get your fucking ass whooped. I'm sorry, right? But the thing is then they're literally doing what they're saying that they don't want done. Again, I get it's the pushback of...
The irony is that they're fighting against oppression by oppressing people, like in this neighborhood.
I think that's a bit of a false equivalency myself. I mean, I think it's more they are... Well, first of all, you got to kind of think about the years and years of police brutality that have led to this.
Listen, let me stop you. If you stop at police brutality, you will not lose me because I agree 100% as a victim of shit like that.
Oh, okay.
But that's my argument is because I don't agree with that it's just to that majority specific group because I've been in mostly low income areas, right? So I think it's more of a poverty issue. Okay, now we can talk about black people being in poverty or whatever. That's a different thing. We can talk about the prison thing. That's a different thing. That's not this though, right? The police brutality aspect of it, I'm fully behind 100%. But once you start creating the divisions of white, black, and things like that, that's where I lose focus because now you're making it about a specific people instead of any police brutality, right? That bothers me because as someone that's been a victim of things like that, not to have the victim mindset, but you're telling me because I didn't experience it the same way because I'm not black or Hispanic or whatever, it invalidates all the things that I went through. That's the argument that I feel that I get from people because I've made some poor decisions. I've been on the wrong end of handcuffs a couple times. I've been in the back of police cars, so on and so. I've done those things. But I've also been in situations where I literally just happened to be there.
Wrong place, wrong time.
And get treated like a complete piece of shit. And it's not because of me. It's because of the mindset of the police when they went in there.
Yeah, here's my issue with it. Yes, police brutality, that is an issue. I think as soon as you start saying, attributing it to a certain category, you know, oh, it's white police officers doing it to
so that gets me back to my point of why and what.
Then, so
color,
that's taking away from the actual issue. The actual issue is that police are conducting themselves for whatever reason. It doesn't matter whether it's training or bias or whatever. For whatever reason, something is causing them or allowing them to behave in such a way that is just simply not acceptable in our society.
In society in general.
But they get away with it because of the structure.
Yes.
And
So we can agree on that. That gets me to my point that we were talking about earlier, the why versus the what. Sometimes the why. I agree with you on the police brutality. I just don't agree with all of the semantics within it, right? Because I've experienced it, right? Maybe it's the off chance that I did, but it was more than once, right? Again, I was in a poor area typically when these things happened. Or I was in a ritzy area and I definitely didn't look like I belonged there. So those things, there are profiling that's done like that, social profiling based on your appearance and things like that. And as a security officer in training and stuff like that, you create a habit of recognizing things based upon your environment. So if you're in an area where you have, for example, if you have a DART station getting off there, you're going to have typically a lot of lower income people hanging out in that area, right? But if the DART station is within a community within a black community, near a black community, you're obviously going to get a lot more gathering of black people in that general area. So if you have a private property right next to that area that's a public shopping place, you're going to have predominantly black people based on where you're at, right? And then the other thing of the DART transit being there just brings more, so now it's convenience, right?
That's Dallas area rail transit,
rapid transit, Dallas area rapid transit. So with that being there and certain types of people regularly come off now you've created a pattern, not a pattern of one person, but a pattern of a group of people. You now have enough information. You can't judge a single person, but you can judge groups of people, right? With the amount of information that comes in. So if you have 60% black people getting off of the train or whatever, and they come over into the shopping center, you expect that, right? But then within that group, if you have a certain group of those dressed a certain way or doing certain things on a regular basis, you're now queued up to maybe the outfit that they're wearing, or the way that they're carrying themselves, because maybe they're this is just based on security in one specific mall. And now when I look at things, I'm looking at, okay, cool, like this could possibly happen because of my last experiences, and this is all the information I have, so I have to be prepared for it. Not to act on it, but be prepared for it. So you do have to have some implicit bias based on the information that you get. So I do think that there's value in it. But the thing that I have an issue with is when police officers come in ramped up, right? But we don't know what they dealt with before either. A police officer may get a call of a child that they found a child was dead, right? And their next call is immediately to deal with somebody that's causing a ruckus at a public place, right? They're going to be geared up. So psychologically, they're not prepared for that. So they're going into a situation unprepared because...
I think a lot of that could be addressed simply through better dispatching and better administration. I
agree. I think that policing has to change. I think the process of how police conduct their duties has to change.
Do we have the conversation about training, levels of training? Like the police officers get a certain level of training and then they're told to...
Well, we did discuss a little bit, but no level of training matters if you don't practice the training.
Sure.
I'm sorry. You can spend all the money to give all the classes you want, but if you don't regularly practice the training that you have been given, it's useless. I play guitar. I used to play really well. I quit playing as often for a very long time, and I'm just not as good as I used to be. I remember how to do it, but it's just not working, right? So if you're not putting those things into practice, how in the hell are you going to know how to deal with it? And the way that we stack these police officers, 12-hour shifts on top of each other, AB shifts, things like that, we have to think about the way that we're doing this shit, right? It's not the police officers' fault necessarily. Some of them, it is their fault. Some of them are just assholes. Some of them are pieces of shit, right? But talking earlier with the specific FTO, and then everybody trained under that guy, right? They didn't have the outside view of looking at it and seeing how some police officers act like this, some people act like this, but they were only being trained by this officer, it seemed like, in the interactions that they had with security officers. Now, every time that police officer interacts with security officers, he's going to be a dickhead.
You know what? I have to say something about the interaction thing. So, when someone is strong, they don't need to exert a lot of force. They don't feel threatened by weak things. When you're weak, that's when you feel threatened.
When you're scared.
That's when you need to exert a lot of force to get done what you want to do. So when you see a police officer who is acting aggressive and overly forceful, that's not a sign of confidence. It's a sign that he is on the
incompetent.
Well, he's on the edge of not being able to handle that. Right. He's coming up to the edge where he doesn't have control.
Right. He doesn't have control of himself.
Right. See, I can't buy that as an excuse, though.
No,
Not saying that as an excuse. We are analyzing
the reality
what
of
is
it.
being done.
I got you.
Why
Yeah.
it's
And again, that's why we agree that the policing needs to
Gotcha.
change,
We
right?
do.
So
Yeah.
we're trying to analyze
Structurally, the police need to
we're
change,
trying to
yeah.
analyze the way that, because they don't happen publicly the way that the media portrays it, but it does happen. None of my stuff was public. You know what I'm saying? But I got treated like shit, so I know it's real. Right? But think about people that have never had a run-in with the law and that are only basing this stuff on what they hear. You know, so you're having an opinion on something based on a narrative given to you by someone else that you have no experience on. I have a problem with that.
That's a majority of Americans.
I
let's
agree.
Be real.
that's I agree. That's why I say focus on your community first. If you have a policing issue in your community, do something about that.
Right.
I can't change what the police do in Seattle. I can't. There's no federal law that's going to change that. It has to be up to the state and the people within that community. I think more localizing of government and things like that, giving them probably a little bit more power. You know, taking some of that away from the federal government, but I think with giving some of that power to the local levels, it now gives more power to the people. Because a lot of these people that run in local office, they don't want to be career politicians.
It's easier to get a local sheriff or a local mayor out than it is someone in Congress.
You know, so
And
it's,
those are the people who are actually going to have some effect on what's happening on the ground.
you know, so it's just, I think that the bottom up approach as opposed to the top down approach, or maybe vice versa, depending on how your perspective is on looking at it. But I just think that the national narrative and what most people are talking about, the why is getting in the way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Police brutality is real. It's real. It's not all cops. I have several police officers that are friends, and I would say that are good cops based on the knowledge that I have.
Well, when it comes to like specifically like BLM, I don't. What they're. I think white folk kind of fall into a victim trap sometimes. Not completely, but whenever you hear Black Lives Matter, it's really easy to kind of just be like, what? I'm not black. Why doesn't my life matter? I think it's more just bringing attention.
Reactionary thing.
It's more bringing attention to the fact that the indisputable fact is that black people are systematically oppressed in our country. It's just the fact. That's how it works.
So the information,
and we have to acknowledge that as white folk.
The information that you give, as far as like that you say is fact, as far as systemic racism, I do think that it has a lot to do with the people in the system and not the system itself.
Okay.
And so let me explain that a little bit. So think about the people that have been in Congress. Some of them have been in Congress for 30 plus years, longer than I've been alive.
They've been through 3 changes of wheelchairs.
Before these people are still. They have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. Get the fuck out of here. They don't have their finger on the pulse of what's going on because they've spent it up in their castle making laws and things like that.
I think it's both. The system and the people in it.
I think
what part of the system? What part of the system? Like,
I think you and I will agree, but yeah, I think you and I agree.
Well, I mean, just think about it. The constitutional governmental system of our country was put together largely back in the 1700s.
Right.
And we've, amended it as we went.
Well,
but it was a very different world back then.
Me and David have actually talked about this.
Oh, cool.
And I agree with you.
Is that when y'all were building the perfect society? Is that when y'all did that?
No, I think him and I just personally talked about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, recently about the Constitution itself.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we've been talking about whole laws and Constitution.
You see. I mean, I have a pocket reader.
Yeah, it's under your phone there.
that I have that I like to thumb through here and there because I didn't actually know much about it that I thought I did. I thought I knew more than I did.
They don't teach it a lot in schools.
They don't teach you shit. They teach you it's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
That's seriously all the information. I thought I knew what it meant.
I think people know more about the Gettysburg Address than the Constitution.
That's a good speech, though. That's a real good speech. But so the issue with that I have with some of the stuff with the systematic part of it, I can agree with you a little bit, but that's why I'm also saying take power away from the governmental control, right? The federal government, right? Because if they wouldn't try and make laws for the entire country as far as specific people, because that's what they do. That's what it seems like that they do. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe, again, I don't think that's the goal necessarily. Let me be clear. I don't think their intent is to do those things. But the fact is, when those systems exist If there's a system, somebody's taking advantage of it. Sorry.
The thing is, okay, I think in the US, the problem with the discussion about systemic racism or systemic anything, whenever you bring up something like, police brutality, then there's always an answer. So, like, when you talk about the prison system being systemically racist, and I do think there's definitely...
I worked in the prison system. I have experience of the prison system.
I think there's definitely bleed over from the earlier periods in time. But
there should be...
The argument is, see, there's always counter... What I'm looking for someone to explain to me about the systemic racism, I want them to show me the mechanism, and so basically from point A to point B, how did it go? So
I will agree. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I will agree that there are things based up in our history and laws and rules that throughout time have been there and have been systemically oppressing to people. But I don't think it's been at first. Yes, it definitely was a black and white thing, but we're in 2020 now, and I can go out, and me being white, my white privilege, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? I can go out and have a conversation with the Hispanic guys across the street doing the roof, right? With no fear of them retaliating to me and me retaliating against them. In a world that they see a white guy, they shouldn't be scared. I'm just a dude. I'm not part of the system. I'm not doing anything to oppress you or do anything. And then I think the ideology of, if you don't agree with why we want police reform, then you're not on our table. That's my problem. I agree with you that police reform is necessary. I just disagree with why it's necessary.
Do you think it'll help if, the BLM, one of the BLM's thing right now is defund the police? Do you think defunding the police force or?
I think we give them too much money, yes. But defund the police doesn't mean what it sounds like.
I think allocation of funds. I think we need to have better local government.
So defund the police is just a slogan. It doesn't mean no more police, no more money to the police. It means
it doesn't sound good though, does it?
Reallocating money from police to communities.
Here's the problem though. The same people are in charge. So how are you going to get that to change? Oh, because they signed some bill? Like, there's so many...
Well, the people saying defund the police aren't in charge.
Well, no. The government,
the
people that
they're
would have
appealing
to...
to.
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah.
And that's my issue with any movement.
Revolution, baby.
Well, here's revolution, fine.
I'm not
whatever.
even joking. Revolution.
my problem with what the BLM are doing and Antifa are doing, that's not revolution.
Antifa.
Well, yeah, okay, but they're in the same camp, man. So they're going to get rolled in together.
They're sitting at the same table, trying to get some of the same things. But then when you have one of the leaders go on, I know you say revolution. I understand that, but what I'm saying is like, I don't feel personally, based on the communities and the people that I've been around, that it's as it's portrayed. So, and again, that's just based on me and my experiences in life. I've traveled a little bit. I've been a couple places, right? And the thing that I've always found myself on is usually on the poor end of it. I've been poor most of my life. So I've usually been in poverty areas. I've usually been in areas of low income, right? Whether it be rural or city, right?
So to improve your situation, did you appeal to the higher authorities?
No, honestly, what I did to improve my situation is I took a real close look at what I was doing.
Yeah, well...
No, that's personally, though. I'm not saying that applies. I'm saying some people are affected by this. They are. I know they are. And the emotion is real. The things these people feel that are pushing these things, it's real. I know it's real. And I don't disagree with the emotion, the feeling, and things like that. My experience tells me that what I'm seeing is not the story. That's not the thing.
I guess it goes back to like what we all believe about government. Like, I think since the government has power, it has money, and it has resources, I think it should help people.
I agree.
So
I think us as a people, if we have the ability to help, we should.
Yes. That's actually one of my issues with conservatism, because I feel like one of the things that it harps on, at least at its core, is that you got to be very conservative. You got to not share with others.
Well,
you got to take care of yourself and your inner.
I think if you start pushing, I think that's why I call myself right center or left center. I'm very center. Very center. Like, I agree with you. I agree with you that there are some things that are there to help people, But if there's a system, somebody's taking advantage of it. The problem is these things are way too easy to take advantage of.
Fair enough.
That's my problem. So you have all of these things voted in, like food stamps. You have Social Security, all of this stuff, right? I don't have a problem with those things existing. Let me be very clear. But you know how many people personally that I know that are using that to not have to work? That are using that so that they don't have to worry about getting their groceries. They know that that's paid for by the government. Okay? So now they're going out and they're doing, like we talked about earlier a little bit, you get a check, you want to go buy a new car instead of fixing your house type thing. So I think it's a cultural thing. I don't think it's systemic as much as people say. I think it's a cultural thing with people. I grew up in a poor community, white people, same fucking problem. You get a check from the insurance company because a tornado came through. You think they're going to fix the roof? Fuck no. They're going to go buy a boat or a car or something like that.
Four-wheeler.
It's not just that. It's literally the people that have poor. Some people do really try and they never make it out. I know that. And I know just self-accountability alone will not help some people. And some things do have to be in place to help those people. But the masses of people that need the help is not as it's portrayed, I don't think. Because I've used something like government assistance to just get myself through a spot. But as soon as I'm able to, even if I qualify, I still just, never mind.
Okay, I think I've just come up with a possible compromise. So on the left we have progressives, liberals, Democrats,
me,
and Ben on the
basically.
left here, and on the right we have.
I will not align myself with the right. I have a problem with it the same as you, but I also have the same problem with the left.
Right. So the progressives' view is that it's systemic racism. That racism exists because of the way the system is. Okay, conservatives will say, no, that's absolutely not true. Laws and everything is perfectly fair and equal. There's laws against discrimination, all of that. They'll give the counter argument. Here's my compromise. Can we all agree?
No.
Okay. Well, it's been nice seeing you. I'm out of here. But that's essentially true, and that's part of the problem. But could we possibly, maybe all agree at some point in the future, hashtag not all. Anyway,
we're all the same.
That the system is not intrinsically racist, but it certainly allows for
100% agree with that.
For the
100%.
existence and the propagation
the people.
So
racism.
Okay, then let's get to the what. What do we do about that compromise? Like, what
That's
do we do?
the problem. Now we've gotten to
You haven't thought about this?
We do. This is all we've been thinking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe months.
Seriously, I really do. What I think is a solution, seriously, would be to decentralize a lot of things.
Okay.
I think
as soon as you take federal power away, you will see a lot more change.
Well, the thing is
Positive change.
So the federal government has put in place things for hate crimes. Right? The federal government has. I don't have a problem with that necessarily. If you can prove it was a hate crime or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, listen, if you just dislike somebody, right, and you dislike them, but if you do something as a hate crime, if you do something hatefully towards someone, period, doesn't matter race, it's a hate crime.
But the thing is,
every
crime hateful?
Here's the problem. When you put in something specifically to gear it as a hate crime, I know it was to deterrent, but is that something that has to always exist in society? Maybe so. Maybe it's there. Maybe it happens and we just forget that it exists, and then some passerby does it, right? That's how a lot of these laws get repealed in some ways, because that's from like 1902. Right? We just haven't, the stupid laws like spitting on the sidewalk, things like that. Those aren't laws anymore. Maybe they are, but they're not enforced laws.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is what are these police officers enforcing? We get rid of the drug enforcement. Right. If you take away some of the prohibition, most of it, all of it, if you can, I understand wanting to protect people from themselves, but that's not the police's job. The police's job is not to protect people from themselves. It's to protect people from other people.
Yeah.
From other people. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Okay, psychiatrist is supposed to help with the people to person thing, right? So these police officers that go out there are not trained psychologists, but they do have to have an understanding of the way a human brain functions.
So maybe more funding should go to that aspect.
But again, if you're not putting into practice, what does it matter?
Right.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I agree with David saying that the system. I don't agree that the system itself. It has been, But I do think people have done a lot of work, and I don't want to diminish the work that's done.
Right.
Is it where it should be? Maybe not. Probably not. But the thing is the fact that Jim Crow existed. It doesn't. Now, then the remnants after that, the things that changed after that were to progress that, right? Mm-hmm. So you didn't have the same racial issues, I don't believe, in the northern states or the Midwest or anything like that. I don't think. I don't know. But the Midwest is mostly, I think, predominantly white, excuse me, because of like Mormonism, things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's so prejudiced, right?
That's a white people thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is. I've never seen a black Mormon.
I mean, they may exist. I actually have met a Hispanic Mormon. I have met a Hispanic Mormon. But
it's
anyway,
like seeing a white Muslim. It's like
I used to know when I lived in London. I used to know this black dude, and he was a neo-Nazi. He loved the Nazis.
Isn't that bizarre?
I'm telling you, I had Conrad. If you're listening, I hope you ain't wearing those black cargo pants anymore and those black shirts with a black tie, because that's how he would come to work.
Did he have tattoos and everything?
I don't know. He may have, actually. Conrad, you better not.
Right. Well, I think I guess what I wanted to get back to with what you said, and to elaborate with you, Ben, is I do agree that there are problems. Mm-hmm. But I don't think voting one way or the other totally.
So that's the agreement we've reached, that there are problems in the world.
Well, I think we can agree. I think we can agree.
Specific that the system that is in place allows for bad actors to act bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If it allows it, that's not good.
That's just as bad
needs addressing
as having a law that supports it, in my opinion. So I agree with you there. But to say that the system itself that's again, it's a word thing, it's a verbiage thing. That's why I ask questions, because I try to view it logically. I try and it just doesn't add up to me, again, based on my experiences and stuff like that. And what I basically come up with is, if people can corrupt a system, they will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's the people. It's the people. And these people are the people that we're voting in place.
Yeah, so let me define what I mean when I say systematic.
Yes.
I guess I'm using it wrong, actually, because I don't necessarily think it's the laws, but I also keep in mind that people make laws.
Yes.
People do. Yeah.
People are flawed.
Exactly. But I think it's the problem, I think, is going on with race in America is the kind of implicit ideas we have about perhaps other people that we may not be aware of. Like, say my dad or like my parents may have this, idea that, say, maybe they see a black guy walking down the street and think he may be walking on the street because he's poor. Maybe he lives there.
He has a car.
That's like an implicit bias.
Right.
So again, I think those biases are so widespread that's what I mean when I say systematic.
But
everywhere.
I think if you recognize that you have things like that, it's not a bad thing to have those things.
And it goes to your point. It's the people. You have to have the ability to assess yourself that way, and some people don't.
Well, and I'm bothered by that, because I hate to think that not everybody could get there.
And Ben,
but the reality is that's probably true.
Yeah.
I want to argue against Ben's point about laws not being prejudiced or racist. Mm-hmm. Now, I do believe, and I forget believe, there are laws that are still leftovers from a racist time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Here's my thing. I recognize that not all police officers are good police officers. Again, from personal experience, whatnot. But my hackles or my red flag will always go up when I hear anybody refer to an entire group of people and attribute something to that group of people, because that's basically what racism is. Yeah. And if you're talking about police officers and doing the same thing, I guess not racism, but that's still bigotry, that's still prejudice, bias. And so immediately I think, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. So as far as the police officers go, yes, there's bad police officers, racist police officers. But for the most part, they're simply enforcing the laws as they've been told to. Now, for instance, the drug laws, which we keep coming back to, maybe when that law was made, yes, there was made with certain groups of people in mind who are more likely to indulge in whatever it might be.
Let me tell you why federally I don't think, or it'll be a very long time before prohibition ceases.
Okay.
Private prisons. private prisons.
That is a problem.
That you should not have a profitable prison.
No.
That
money
not
should
exist.
not be in prisons.
That is the one major flaw. And you talk about all these people and their jobs or whatever. Well, if you're locking up less people,
The thing is, the money is
Less
in it.
money,
It's like
yeah.
the corona numbers reported from hospitals. Every time they report a corona death, they get a bonus.
If it might,
Like,
if it might,
you know what I'm
could
saying?
be, if it might, could be a death caused by that, they're going to put it on there. And then there's multiple doctors taking account of this or
pushing
whatever.
people out of windows. I mean,
You know, and there was doctors talking about like if even if they passed of whatever issue, if they tested positive for a COVID, they put that as a COVID death. There's no way to
we
prove.
got COVID in another episode.
Yeah.
Yay me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so Ben, I wanted to say first off, thank you for coming on. And
Yes, sir.
do you have anything else you want to add to anything that we said? Because I don't actually disagree with anything you said. I think our vocabulary is a little different.
It was a productive conversation. I got more. I didn't even think about the like your perspective on systemic justice. So that was good, and especially saying this may make some of your listeners mad.
Yes.
This next week, I'm actually going to protest all by myself a Confederate statue locally.
Which Confederate statue?
The one in Navasota. It's called Confederate Memorial Plaza.
Confederate Memorial Plaza.
So what
Yeah.
can you describe? You know what it looks like? Can you describe
Yeah.
it to us?
So it's got the Confederate flag behind this statue of a soldier just doing this, but it's generally just to memorialize the Confederacy
yeah.
in general.
Check out episode 17 of ours that you haven't listened to yet. Check it out, man. I think you may
Okay.
be interested to see some of what we talked about today was on that, but this definitely dove more into the political aspect of what is exactly going on right now a little bit. But I think what I wanted to bring it all back together is, Ben, you live a couple hours away from David and myself. And you experience a different type of socioeconomic status where you are in some degree, I would think.
Sure.
Because of the area where you're I'm familiar with it. Right. And then based upon the street that I'm on right now, and depending on the town or whatever that you live in, there are things that are different. And we're only a couple hours apart.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So if you're trying to tell me, if you're living in bumfuck Texas, and you're telling me somewhere else in bumfuck Texas that I shouldn't do things this way.
Is that south of Tyler?
If you're telling me in Houston how to live in my community here that you don't live in, I feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself and me by assuming that that's going to fix my community. So I just want
Very
people,
meta way of looking at it. Yeah.
but the thing is if we're trying to fix all these big things,
Macro way of looking at it.
yeah.
There you go.
If we're trying to fix all these big things, like I think sometimes the biggest change is by changing the smaller things and the butterfly effect of that.
Change yourself.
So
Start
hopefully
with
this smaller
yourself.
thing I do next week will do something.
Well, listen, I'm going to do a little bit of research on that, and I'd actually like to continue discussion with you back and forth on that.
You gonna shoot some video while you're there?
Yeah, I'm going to try to document it because...
What day? When are you going out there?
I'm planning on going out there...
Do you want to say that on air? No, it's sorry.
Actually, I want to say what day I'm going out there. I'm scared.
Okay, well,
Somebody will come.
tell me off air.
Yeah,
Tell me
but
off air.
I'm doing it because I'm going to document it because I feel like with everything going on nowadays, people want to do something, but they may be afraid to do it by themselves. So I'm going to see, like, I'm doing this by myself. Let's see how it goes.
That's what we're talking about. It's
The
start
only-
with yourself. You do your thing.
The only bit of advice, if you can take it or leave it, that I would suggest is
Hire private security.
no.
Oh well, I was trying to get us a job.
Be willing to talk about it with the people that disagree with you and understand why they disagree with you.
I'm prepared for that, man.
And the thing is because I grew up around a bunch of those things, and listen, like we were talking about outside, there's things that people say that they don't perceive to be, but by someone else it may be. And maybe use that opportunity is to educate people on your perspective of it.
Yeah,
Instead of telling them they're wrong.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying you wouldn't do that. That's just my advice. And for anybody else that's wanting to go do that, allow yourself to have a conversation. But guys, Ben, you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, so just check me out at YourStoryGuy, like I said.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. That video's going to be on that channel. And then Spurline Reviews, I review movies every now and then.
Do you have a Twitter,
Damn.
Instagram, anything like that?
No, I don't. So just catch me on YouTube. That's where I'm at.
I wanted to come back and ask you a little bit more about the Spurline stuff because it's quite different to your YouTube channel. But we can get that next time.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can definitely get that next time. And And want to let you guys know you can check us out at driftwoodpodcast.com. You can check us out on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Check out BitChute. We got a couple videos on there.
B-I-T.
bitchute.com, bitchute.com. Check us out on YouTube. Also, we've set up a PayPal. We've set up the Patreon. You can go subscribe and do $1 a month to help support us in what we're doing.
Or just a one-off random.
Yeah, that's what the PayPal is for. If you just want to give just a one-time donation or whatever, I think on the other Patreon you have to do a subscription. So that's why I put it down to $1. It actually gave me issues about doing that, but put it down to $1 if you want to help support us and don't really recognize the dollar leave in your pocket. It'll help us out a lot. And then also, if you give us a one-time donation, you can send it to PayPal. It'll be in the links. Also, any way else that you want to help, we have a lot of ideas flowing back and forth, a lot of communication back and forth with a bunch of people going on.
We recently got a video guy. So we have someone who's going to be making videos for us. So we're really very happy. Thank you, sir. You know who you are.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to bring you on be able to bring you on the next one so you can introduce yourself. So, but if you're in the town hall, you'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly because of the interaction. And thank you guys for listening. Love you guys. So,
right.
out.
We're out.